Hello, Lindsay.
Lindsay's here.
Shall I do... Okay, right, give me a second now, because I've started. Giallo, which is this film by Dario Argento, which is not coming out in cinemas. It's coming out on DVD on Monday, right? And the reason I'm going to... We don't usually do DVD reviews, but there's a new Dario Argento film, and it's not that new. It was 2009. It's been sitting around in some legal problem for ages because of unpaid bills to Adrien Brody. Story is that Adrien Brody is this cop who is on the trail of a horrible killer who appears to have watched far too many torture porn movies. Adrien Brody won an Oscar for The Pianist. Emmanuelle Seigner is a woman whose sister, we believe, is now in the clutches of the horrible killer. The thing is called Giallo because Dario Argento was the great Giallo director. Giallo meaning yellow, okay? And this was a genre of films which were sort of they're crime films but inflected by horror later on. And they were called yellow because it was the colour of the pulp paperbacks that originally inspired them. And Argento is very, very important if you're a horror fan, partly because he gave us Tenebrae and Profondo Rosso and Suspiria and things which really defined what extraordinary Euro horror looked like. Four Flies on Grey Velvet, proper Euro horror in the late 60s and early 70s. And also because...
I didn't understand a word of that last
Okay,
sentence,
but also... Fine. If you saw Black Swan is a film which exists because, Darren Aronofsky has watched a bunch of Dario Argento films. So I ought to mention this because a new film by Dario Argento is always important. I think he's off now doing Dracula 3D. This has been delayed for 2 years. It's finally coming out Monday. And the sad news is it's really not any good at all. So it's one of those terrible things when somebody's done great work in the past. You want them to carry on doing great work in the future. And everyone who's a horror fan knows this. Everyone who's a Dario Argento fan, it's like Woody Allen. Go on, do one of the early brilliant ones again. But watching Giallo, the whole thing about which is that the killer himself is yellow. You see, it's called Giallo, but he's yellow because he's got that yellow thing. He's got that...
Doesn't that make him quite easy to spot in a crowd?
You'd think so, wouldn't it? And even more easy because he's a shambling, cut out... I mean, it's really not very good.
He's the only yellow character in the film.
Yeah.
Right. It's a bit of a giveaway, isn't
it?
Yeah,
but he wears a hood. But the thing, I mention this only because...
If I ever see a hooded yellow person who's a shambler,
you'll stay away from him. I mention it only because that kind of... Dario Argento, Adrien Brody, Emmanuelle Seigner... I mean, this is... And it's an Argento film, finally gets released after 2 years of legal trouble, and it's not very good at all. Anyway, moving on.